Now let us try to understand what are Gherkin keywords. Okay, see the Gherkin keywords. See, for example, whenever we are writing with respect to the feature file, dot feature file, we make use of this Gherkin language keywords like given, when, then, and. See, basically the core functionality with respect to the BDD Cucumber comes with respect to this Gherkin language keywords, okay, where we will be defining the test cases or scenarios. Okay, see, this is called as a feature. Login functionality is a feature. Now, what can be the scenarios for that? Scenarios can be valid login, invalid login, right? And suppose if you are trying to consider a cart in the Amazon, okay, if you are considering cart in an Amazon website, then that can be a functionality. Adding the items to the cart, removing the items from the cart can be scenarios. Okay, so that is called as the scenarios. So here in our case, we have considered the register functionality, and we are considering a scenario as register page, log into the register page or launch register page and enter the valid data, right? So that is called as a scenario. Now, in order to write this scenario, we have to make use of this Gherkin language keywords, right? So those, let us see. First thing, we have given. Given is basically, it is a Gherkin keyword which is used to describe the initial context of the scenario. Sets up the precondition. Okay, the what is the precondition in our case? In our case, what is the what is the initial step? We have to launch the register page. So I have written like I am on the register page, and if you see with respect to the step def, here I am trying to set up the Chrome driver. I'm trying to launch the Chrome driver, and then I'm trying to enter that particular register page. Am I doing a precondition? Am I setting up a particular register page on my Chrome browser, right? So a pre-step. So I'm making use of this given Gherkin keyword in order to do a pre-step, right? So that is the thing that I'm trying to use. So when to go with given keyword? When we want to describe the initial context of the scenario, we can go with respect to given. And when to go with when? To describe the event or action. For example, like this. For example, if you are considering this, so then we are trying to perform some operation, right? I'm entering some data. When user enters credentials on the login page, when I enter that data, when I select some particular value from the drop down, so those can be considered in the case of when. Okay, and then is basically to describe the expected outcome, right? Like for example, we can use then for some assertions. Okay, like for example, you are describing an login functionality. Okay, if suppose we are trying to write one login functionality here, let us try to consider one scenario. Let me try to write one scenario like this, and here I'll write it as given. I'm on the login page. Okay, this is one given. So this is basically an initial condition. When user enters valid credentials, okay, this is basically an user is performing some operation. Then user enters valid credentials and clicks on login button. Okay, here basically he is trying to do some operation. Then user is on the home page, right? A kind of assertion. We are trying to perform some particular precondition, right? Here we are trying to perform some operation, and here we are trying to perform a check or a validation point we can add with respect to the keyword then. Okay, with the help of then keyword, we will try to always add an condition to describe the expected outcome. It could be an assertion. For example, if you are trying to select some value from a drop down, okay, then we will be writing the then step like then user has selected a particular value from the drop down. Okay, a kind of assertion, a kind of check that we used to do with the help of then. Now and is basically used to combine two things. Okay, combine two things. For example, like this: when user enters valid credentials, okay, and user clicks on login button, right? We are trying to combine two things. In that case, we go with respect to and. Okay, given I am on the login page, an initial condition, when user performing some operation, and to combine an operation, then to perform some check or to perform assertion. Now, when do we use but? When a negative condition occurs. For example, a user enters a invalid credentials, but login button is disabled. Okay, see, there are some cases where if you are entering the credentials where username and password both are entered, only then login button will be enabled. Okay, so for example, if you are trying to consider that scenario, okay, if you are trying to consider that scenario, in that case I will write like this. Okay, in that case what happens is, user, I am on the login page, user enters only username, okay, but login button is disabled, like this. Okay, here we are trying to specify that there is some condition or there is some negative thing that is happening with respect to the operation that a user has performed, right? So here login button is disabled, so we are trying to specify that, right? So that in that case we can go with respect to the but. Okay, adds a negative condition. So this or all can be considered with respect to the Gherkin language. Now let us try to understand when to use when again one more time. When to go with given, when precondition you want to decide. Okay, when use when for the main action. For the main action we have to use when. Then can be used for the expected outcome, usually assertions, and or but to extend any of the above three. Okay, and but can be used to extend any of the three. So we can use this general rule of thumb in order to write the scenarios by using BDD cucumber, that is behavior driven development. Okay, so this is nothing but how we can try to achieve the feature file writing and as well as the few characteristics and benefits with respect to the behavioral driven development. Okay,